You are listening to another AlwaysMoto production. The AlwaysMoto podcast with your host, David Hogan. We talk moto events from around the world. All the injuries, all the training ins and outs, the bikes, parts and gear inspections. The results, we interview your favourite riders. It's the AlwaysMoto podcast. We occasionally have some coarse language and the odd stuff up along the way. If you don't like it or you don't agree with us, turn it off right now.
I'd like to remind you that he is not a doctor.
That's right, Moto fans. I'm not a doctor, but I am a physiotherapist, and this is episode 141 of the AlwaysMoto podcast, proudly brought to you by Moto Australia and TechnicMotorsport.com. I'm your host, David Hogan, the physiotherapist who knows the injuries and fitness needs of our sport of supercross and motocross. We go through everything and anything moto here on the show because everything is always moto here on the AlwaysMoto network. This week's show, we're going to be joined again by Anthony Wakeham from Finance My Bike to talk some Aussie off-road stuff that's become a bit of a regular segment now on the show. We preview the AMA MX series with the AlwaysMoto Contractor. That's right, he's back. We said we had to get him back. We brought him back from the depths. We'll talk about it. You'll hear it when we get to that point. We touch on the upcoming Oz Pro MX round as well. So plenty going on this episode of the AlwaysMoto podcast, as well as our usual segments. But hey, Moto fans, this episode it is brought to you by Moto Australia, the ultimate gear and protection solution for riders seeking top-notch safety and style. From head to toe, Moto has you covered with innovative helmets, goggles, body armor, and more. Head over to leadmoto.com and gear up for your next ride. Don't forget our other supporters. They are TechnicMotorsport.com, PivotPegs.com, Competitive Edge Performance, Tech 167 3D Printing. You'll hear more about these companies throughout our shows on the AlwaysMoto network. As always, we do need your support direct as well. We have our AlwaysMoto t-shirts available and they are $25 plus postage and handling. Email us at info@alwaysmoto.com. Put t-shirt order in the subject line. Send the size through and we'll be in touch regarding payment via PayPal and delivery details. And speaking of PayPal, maybe you don't want a t-shirt but you want to support the show, send us a donation via the AlwaysMoto PayPal account. Now to find that account and our supporters, some discount codes for when you're shopping from our supporters, those things are available in the show notes or on the bio on our social pages. So check those links out. All right, enough with the intro talk. Let's get straight into this show.
G'day guys and girls, it's Dylan Wills here and you're listening to the AlwaysMoto podcast.
Welcome into the show, guys and girls. Let's kick this off straight away into the Oz Pro MX. It's back this weekend. It's round 4. Unfortunately, round 3 was not the greatest of rounds for Australian motocross, as we spoke about on the show a couple of weeks ago. Obviously, we've had since then the funeral for Joel Evans, and we obviously thought still with the family. But as like many things in life, everything moves on rather quickly, and this will be much the same here with round 4 kicking off this weekend in Victoria. So without being disrespectful to anybody, we are going to talk about what's coming up here and what we expect in this championship, but obviously thoughts still with Joel Evans' family. So from the race this weekend, it's round 4. It's at Victoria. It's at Traralgalon. I cannot say that for the life of me, but anyway. Racing, obviously, all 3 classes, as well as the MX 65 Futures are going to be kicking off at this round as well. So plenty of racing action happening there in Victoria for this weekend. In terms of the championship side of things, the 450 championship is tightening itself back up, despite the fact that Kyle Webster had that massive crash in Moto 2 at round 1 and DNF'd. He's brought himself back into the game here. Jed Beaton still is your red plate holder and the points leader with 113 points on his CDR Yamaha. But Kyle Webster in that HRC Honda is creeping up. They're on 100 points. So there's only a 13-point gap at the front here. And with more than half the championship still to go, this 450 championship really still is anyone's game. I thought maybe that Jed with that little leg up that he got from that DNF, would have had a bigger lead across the series, but he hasn't really gotten any motos back from Kyle since that point. So really good riding from Kyle Webster. He's also been showing that speed to be able to get past Jed, which Jed hasn't been able to do when he's been behind in the motos. So yeah, look, Jed's got to find something a little bit extra here. He doesn't need to find much, just something a tiny bit more to be able to take some points back away from Webster at this round, if not the next, because otherwise things are going to flip around here pretty soon, and we might see that Kyle Webster gets this red plate, potentially in a round or two here. So we're going to have to keep an eye on this. Now, in third place, I should say, in the championship, it's rather tight as well, because third and fourth are only separated by 1 point, and that's Nathan Crawford, 1 point ahead of Luke Clout. Luke Clout had a reasonably good round going there in Gilman, but then had some issues as well. But Luke's starts are what favours him, and he's been able to run up front really well. So he's got his starts dialed on the Empire Kawasaki. He's just got to find that mid-moto to end-moto speed. So let's see what happens there. But Levi Rogers has been a bit of a stand out there, so good work for Levi. He's in 5th. Wilson Todd in 6th, Kirk Gibbs 7th, Zach Watson in 8th, Todd Waters in 9th, and Regan Duffy on his return to full season of racing in 10th, outright in the points in the 450 side of things. 250 side of things, it's the Brodie Conley show, but despite the fact that it's the Brodie Conley show, Ryder Kingsford is keeping this thing super tight. There is 4 points between first and second, so 142 for Conley, 138 for Kingsford. So Ryder Kingsford is well and truly in the hunt for this thing and challenging Brodie Conley. Now, Conley made a mistake there in that second moto and gave points back to Kingsford in Gilman. Otherwise, it might have been a bit further out, but Brodie's definitely got the points and the speed. He's just got to reduce those couple of mistakes he's made throughout the season that's been keeping Kingsford in touch with him. So keep an eye on that as we go for the rest of this season. In third in the championship, but it's Noel Ferguson from Larwood, Byron Dennis, Seth Birchall, Jace Cosford, Kobe Burke, Travis Olander, and Reese Budd in 10th. Now, Reese Budd's the interesting one in all of this. He missed last round in Gilman. He separated from his Husqvarna team. He's now announced that he's with the Empire Kawasaki from this round onwards. He will be at this round. I spoke with him. He is definitely in for this weekend. We've also lined him up to be on the show next weekend to talk about this switch with Kawasaki and how the round goes. So interesting to talk to Reese in a week's time on the podcast. So hopefully you'll be able to hear that next week. MX3 side of things, it's Cade Kingsford out front on 141 points. He's got a decent gap. He's had a solid season so far over Kai Woods in second, who's on 119 points. Back to Jet Alsop, Jack Deverson, Jackson Fuller, Seth Shackleton, Cooper Rao, Balin Townsend, Casey Wilmington, and Caden Strode is your top 10 there in the MX3 Championship. But at this stage, it's the Honda-mounted Cade Kingsford looking solid for that MX3 Championship. He's definitely had the pace. But Kai Woods has been running good, strong motors as well. Obviously, just a few more for Cade at this point in this championship. So looking forward to the round this weekend. We'll have more coverage and a wrap-up from it after the weekend. So we'll be hopefully getting the AlwaysMoto Contractor back on to do a bit of a review with us of this round next week before we talk to Reese Budd. So looking forward to that. All right, we're going to take a quick break on the podcast here. The next thing we're going to do here is our AMA 450-250 motocross preview, and we're welcoming back the Contractor.
Hi guys, it's Brad West, and you're listening to the AlwaysMoto podcast.
All right, guess who's back? Guess who's back? It is a bit of an Eminem soundtrack right now. We're going to do the whole guess who's back. My name is, but it's the Contractor. It's the AlwaysMoto Contractor. He's coming back on. I'm going to blame myself. He's been on hiatus, but it's purely down to me and time and kids and life and just not being able to get him back on. We were doing this really regularly, and then we weren't, and now I'm trying again. So let's try again. Ben Grinley, you're welcome back, mate.
Thank you very much, Dave. It's good to be back.
It's nice to have you back, mate. We are going to do a 450-250 AMA motocross preview, mate. The season's kicking off this weekend at Parla. Should be a good opening round. Hopefully we're going to get your thoughts here in a second on a couple of riders, mate.
Yeah, it'll be good. And we'll have a stacked gate again, which will be nice to see some faces back. And it's outdoor time.
Yeah, definitely is. Real men riding real bikes at this point for the outdoors is what we like to say here. All right, so let's go straight into it. Let's go to the 450s first, and we're just going to basically list off a couple of the riders that we think are worthwhile in terms of championship side of things, and then maybe a couple just to see what we think of where they're going to be. So we've got about 10, maybe 12 riders on this list here for 450s. And we're going to start with the defending 450 outdoor champ, and that is Chase Sexton on the KTM. What do you reckon of Chase coming into this weekend with the KTM with the number one plate on that bike? What do you reckon, Benny?
You got to think he comes in with some momentum after the Supercross season and rolling up with the number one on the plate. There's been a fair bit of chatter in the last few months, but yeah, when you roll in fresh season number one, I think he's going to come out firing.
He's got to be the one for me out of everyone that's been running that should have momentum, fitness, bike setup, and confidence all rolled into one, ready to go already. Like all the others haven't, and we'll get to them in their what's coming for their season. But he's the one that's all set up and ready to go. My only question mark is when he sees all those other guys back on the gate, does his confidence suddenly evaporate?
Yeah, and that's been a thing. We've talked about it plenty of times. When there's bigger names there that he's got to race, some mind games start to happen. But, he raced all 17 Supercross races. He should be, the peak of his fitness compared to everyone else. So you can't really look past him as being the title favourite at this point with, Jet's got injuries or had injuries and Tomac and a few others. At this point, you'd think he'd be the one at least to come out firing.
Yeah, you've made the sensible point there. He should be, if he's not for most people, based on the evidence as it stands right now, he should be the pick. But we'll get to championship picks at the end here, but it makes sense that would be the case. So let's see what Chase Sexton can deliver not only this weekend, but across this championship and how these other riders will fare. So let's get to some of those other riders. Let's go to the next big man on the totem pole here. And no, I'm not talking about Jet just yet. We're talking about the two-time MXGP champion, Jorge Prado. First time in the States this year. He's only done 2.5 Supercross rounds because he didn't make it through the third one. But this will be his first outdoor series in America. He's never, as far as I know, I can't remember, did he do the Red Bud Motocross of Nations? He may have, but outside of that, no experience with AMA motocross tracks. He's probably done a couple laps at Parla on a Tuesday or something midweek, but new bike to get set up, Monster Cowie, turning from injury, that dislocated shoulder that kept him out of Supercross. Benny, thoughts on Jorge Prado in the US this year?
It's going to be an interesting one. First of all, to see, how fit he is and, with the shoulder injury. But then, the new bike, the new track. I know he's been on the bike through Supercross, but, outdoors is different. So it's just going to depend on how he gels and how fit he is.
Yeah, I think the fitness side of things is going to probably take a few weeks for him. The bike side of things, and this comment that I'm going to say is coming from what I've seen him up to and heard interviews with other media sources in this last week or so. I'm not sure what he's doing setup-wise because as far as I know, he's at Club MX riding sand tracks, and the first few rounds of this series are basically hard pack rock in Parla and then Hangtown and then even Thunder Valley to some degree is pretty hard pack. It just turns into slot car racing if they rip it deep, but it goes crusty. So I'm not sure what he's doing setup-wise there or if he's just super confident in what he's got already. But yeah, I'm just a bit confused by his lead in here, going to club and riding sand. I get the reason to go to club and ride all their different venues or different tracks on their venue, I should say. But the setup and also to be setting up away from his team at a distance for this as well, it seems a bit curious. But yeah, I'm super eager to see Prado ride this series. I'm just curious about how this initial lead in is going, and if in a couple of weeks' time, maybe he suggests that he should have done things a little differently.
Yeah, and that's right. Club is very different to to Parlour,
Yeah.
like you stated. So, probably the first race you would expect each weekend that he, is maybe a little bit behind the eight ball, but I'd say come the second moto, he'd probably do a lot better after having, quality practice and then one moto. I'd say, the second motos will be his go-to for probably the first season.
Yeah, I would think so as well, but I also think that might not happen for the first 3 rounds based on fitness with post injury. But we'll see. I expect him to get better later in the season if he makes it that far. That is too. So there's always a chance of another injury. So we'll see how that plays out. All right, next man on our list, and that is the HRC Honda rider, champion, Mr. Undefeated, 22-0 from 2 seasons ago now, Jet Lawrence. He's back for outdoors. Little bit shocking return time frame for this ACL repair that he's had done that occurred in Glendale, which was only, I can't remember what I put it out as, but it's basically 3-ish months. Back from an ACL, back to racing. He's been on the bike for about a month to 5 weeks, I think it is now. This is super fast for a return from this side of things, but this isn't the first time he's returned super fast from an injury. Look at the thumb injury last year, and that didn't seem to slow him down on his return. I don't think it will slow him down either. It's just more a case of how fit and how comfortable he is, and if he does dab his foot in the first few rounds, is it super solid already? We'll find that out, but I think Jet's going to just shock the pants off most people at round 1. I don't know about you, Ben, but that's my position at this point.
Yeah, it seems to be the new trend that, you have an ACL injury and, within 2-3 months you're back on the bike. There's been a few other people in the last few months that have had that done and are back on the bike as well. But, Jet's undefeated at Parlour, so it's hard to, even with an injury, see him not winning. But yeah, it just depends on how fit he is, and that little trip to the Met Gala. Does that muck up the program a little bit, or are we fine? We'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, it's Parlour. I can't see I can't see him not winning, no matter what the story is.
Yeah, I'm much in the same boat. So yeah, like Jet's just a freak. And I think everybody's going to see it yet again this weekend when he turns up on the gate. And there'll either be a fastest lap in qualifying straight out, or he'll just win both motos or do all 3. So I don't expect much less from him. If there is, he just might show that he's a little bit human. So we'll see how that plays out. All right, next man on the list is our soon-to-be off contract or out of a ride, Eli Tomac at Star Racing Yamaha. There plenty of rumours swirling around him and his ride for next season. One of which is that I don't know if you saw this one, Benny, but the Ducati, I got a nice stutter going there, the Ducati off-road, I don't know what his position exactly is. Let me find that out, actually. General Manager of Off-Road at Ducati Corsa, Paolo Ciabatti, is currently holidaying right near Cortez, Colorado, out of randomness. I don't think it's so random, but anyway. But Eli Tomac is also going to be returning this weekend for Parlour from injury, broken fibula. What has the number 3 bike got in store for us? Is he fit and ready to go outdoors in beast mode, or is he going to be just a tick off?
I think we're going to get beast mode. I can't see all the rumours swirling, affecting him. And, he's been on the bike for enough time now. And, it's Tomac. I can't see anything else other than beast mode coming out. And same thing as Jet, being straight up front and turning a few heads.
Well, we've got to remember too, he's also pretty damn good at Parlour. Now, he's never raced Jet at Parlour. So we can't compare apples with apples in terms of who's done better at Parlour, but I seem to recall some pretty impressive video footage of Eli at Parlour on like press days and stuff, going absolutely berserk around that facility. And obviously he beat Chase out of the title there in 22, I think that was. So he's pretty comfortable around that facility as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Eli does, but I'm more interested to see what the announcement is around what bike he's going to be riding next year than just about anything. But I do think he's going to be up there. I just don't know if he's going to be consistently up there at the pace that a Chase, and even potentially Prado are running every race. I don't know. I just feel like Eli's just coming off that just a tiny bit.
Yeah, and I think, we're waiting for an announcement. I actually said in our group chat the other day, I can't, anything other than a Cowie or a Yamaha is just going to be weird seeing him on, and it doesn't feel right. But yeah, there's the rumours of him riding some other bikes in the last few weeks factor in, his performance as well.
Yeah, that's interesting too. He has ridden some, for the rumours are that he's ridden other bikes, obviously trying to determine a contract situation. It does happen. They do go and ride these bikes at private facilities, so nobody can see them. So they're not actually, nobody knows that they're technically breaking contract, but these things do occur. It's just swirled around in rumours. But would that time that he spent on those other bikes confuse things? Or is he already just super comfortable on his Yami because he's got settings, that he can use already from like when he was at MX of Nations last year and such as well. So I think he'll be fine. I think he's going to be podium man this weekend as well at Parla, despite coming back from the injury. But yeah, keen to see how Eli goes. All right, next, Hunter Lawrence, also returning from injury. Of the 5 we've mentioned so far, 4 of them are returning from injury. But Hunter Lawrence is coming back. He was well and truly in the points hunt last year in his rookie season on the 450. Sort of tapered off at the end there of the season, just wasn't able to keep pace with Sexton at the end, but definitely a worthy adversary and potentially Moto winner, potentially in the championship part, depending on how things go on his return from this shoulder injury. Looking forward to see Hunter sort of stay on that podium position that he earned last year throughout the outdoor championship. I think he's capable of doing the same and upsetting some of these other names like Eli and Jorge and even Chase in terms of, being the regular podium getter and them thinking they should be, but maybe not being.
Yeah, and I mean, for us Aussies, we would just want to see the Lawrence boys go 1-2, but he missed out on some Supercross, had a operation, and then he's been on the bike now a lot longer than probably most of these guys, I'd reckon. So you'd think he'd be pretty up to scratch, and he finished second last year in the championship. So you would expect, even with some of the other names there, that he should still be at least top 5. But on his day, he's just as good as anyone else.
Yeah, definitely agree on that. And I'm looking forward to seeing him really jump in there amongst those top few guys we've already mentioned so far and be consistent podium getter. All right, next on our list, our recently crowned Supercross champion, Cooper Webb, Mr. 3-time, we can probably start calling him. But I don't see Cooper being Mr. 3-time outdoors. He just doesn't seem to have it in the 450 outdoors in recent years, whether it's motivation, whether it's fitness, whether it's bike and bike setup. Like he had some dramas with KTM there at the end of that KTM's tenure. I just don't see him being a podium or even a championship or a regular podium threat. I see him being about 5th throughout motos throughout the season.
Do you think he actually races?
There's so many rumors about this, hey, and obviously the fact that he now confirmed that thumb tear back in December, that he's still been riding through, which is exactly what he did last year and had repaired. Yeah, you've hit something, Benny. I think you'll either see one or two things. You'll see that he's comfortable and capable of getting like thirds, and he's okay with that, and he can gather points all year for the playoffs, and he continues right through. Or you're going to see very straight away, either round 1 or round 2, that he can't do that pace, and he's going to realize it's his thumb and his grip strength, which is different needs outdoors, and he's going to disappear from the series, and it'll happen really quickly.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. I think I'd like to see him do a few. I'd like to see him do the whole lot just to see, he hasn't really been there the last few years, like injury or, something else he pulls out. But I'd really like to actually see him race. But yeah, I'm not sure how it's going to go. I think he'd be, probably 3 to 7 guy. But yeah, it just depends if he races at all, races a few. But yeah, that SMX, the SMX playoffs are keeping guys around. So that'll factor into it, I'm sure.
You know what it's going to do too, but that bit with the injury in that thumb is Cooper will have what Jet did last year as a playbook, right, to return wise, and like what time he went out and knowing how much time he had to get back and that. So you got to think that somewhere around that round 5, which this year is going to be Southwick again, which was the round that I think was the last round that Jet did because he missed Redbud, and that was the week that he had the surgery for the thumb that he tore. So that's going to be Cooper's cutoff mark, I think. He's either going to go to that point or he's going to stop at that point and not continue beyond it in terms of getting that fixed if he needs to get it fixed. So before trying to make the playoffs. So we'll be interested to see how that plays out. But that's Jet's set a playbook for this injury now, and that's what they can use. Cooper's got exactly the same thing. Be interesting to see what they do on that side of things. So we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, Cooper's going to be one to watch from just what does he do? Not necessarily results, but what does he do for the championship? How many rounds does he run? Does the injury affect him, etc.? All right, next on our list, Aaron Plessinger, the Cowboy. Definitely known more for his outdoor skills and his rut skills and potentially looking for some mud events throughout the outdoor season coming up here. But Plessinger's got a lot of competition this year, and I can see him being anywhere from 3rd to 10th or 12th in a moto, and probably not bat an eyelid at the result because of the names that are going to be running around here, especially at the start of the season while the field is deep.
Yeah, and the last few weeks of Supercross, he was right up front. So and surely there's some and momentum plus fitness as well. One of the other people that sort of did all the races, so he should be at a good level as well. But yeah, once those other names come in, you just sort of get shuffled back a bit. But being the outdoor guy, he should be able to get in front of some of the other guys. But it just depends how he goes. We all know he has his days, and if the fans can get him motivated, because that seems to be what he loves, it just depends on how loud they are.
Yeah, he does feed off that crowd support. So yeah, see what happens there. But I don't know. I really don't know where to put him because, like I said, there's plenty of names here, and if he can outlast them in terms of fitness and even just not getting injured, could be a good year. But it could be an average, result as well. So we'll see how that plays out. And similar here, Justin Cooper, Star Racing Yamaha, the 32 bike. I don't know really what to do with Justin Cooper this season. Like, he had an okay run last year, but there's more names in the field this year. I don't know what to expect. I'd probably put Cooper in the same boat as Plessinger, that somewhere on the podium to 12th in a moto, and again, wouldn't really bat an eyelid as the result because there's going to be plenty of names here that can push somebody back that far.
That's right. I mean, I'm with you. Where do you put him? He was, turned some heads in the last few weeks of Supercross and, got some starts and whatnot. But the outdoors is, it's a whole different game. He wasn't too bad on the 250s, but like we've said with the other people, once the names roll in, where do they end up?
And all these can change too. Like, we could get to round 5 and we could be missing the top 6 riders that we just mentioned. And then Jay Coop is all of a sudden a regular podium guy and, going to potentially get 2nd or 3rd in the championship. But right now, based on who's going to turn up for round 1, you can't say that that's the case because there's plenty of other people you would just automatically put in front of him. But by the end of the season and injuries in play a role, yeah, could be completely different. So we're not saying he's not capable. We're just saying we think there's other people that are potentially better than him at this point, given the information we got heading into round 1. So, yeah. And another one that's on this list here that is in a similar boat and probably even a bit more clouded judgment here, but Jason Anderson on the Monster Energy Kawasaki, returning from something, let's say. They claimed it was an illness. Some people have rumoured other things going on with him that's had him sit out the end of the Supercross season there, but he's back on the bike for outdoors, but he's not a known outdoor guy. But he has won motos before when the field has been fairly stacked. So where the hell do we put Jason Anderson? I got no idea, Benny. I don't know about you, but I'm not going to call anything for Jason Anderson because I'd be not surprised for any result for him.
Yeah, well, you sprung this review pod on me probably and maybe an hour ago now, maybe a bit more. And even if I'd had 2 weeks to prepare, I could not tell you where or what is going to happen with Jason Anderson.
Yep. Couldn't agree more with that comment, eh? Like there's nothing to say what he could or couldn't do here. He could do anything. He could win the first moto and then, finish 22nd in the second moto at Parla this weekend. That's what he could do. You just don't know. So I'm curious to see what he's got, what his motivation is like, what his fitness is like, because it all could be very, very round by round, even with Jason Anderson, depending on how things are going. So we'll see. Now, some other names here, just quickly to touch on. RJ Hampshire is meant to move up, but not certain on how this is going to go with the wrist that's been giving him drama and whether he's getting plates removed or whether he has got it and he's going to miss a round or two. We're waiting on press releases for that to come out later this week. We're getting this done rather early, so we'll see what happens with Hampshire. But if Hampshire's fit, Benny, where do you put him? Do you put him like 5 to 10 at this stage? I think that's where I land him.
Geez, I don't know. All that extra power, I'm not sure.
Yeah, okay, good comment. Good call.
We've seen what happens with 250 power when we move up to 450 power. Geez, I don't know.
Do you remember that over the bars step through he did on the tabletop at WW Ranch a few years back on the 250? That was annihilating, and I just feel like hopefully he doesn't do anything similar to that on the 450 because that was huge.
Yeah, I mean, he did race. Was it Daytona? He raced the 450.
Yeah, and did really well.
He won the heat race, and he did really well. So, yeah, I think if he does race, you'd have to think top 10 or at least 11th. But I think, same thing. You don't know, and being, he's raced these guys before, but being the rookie season, I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, I'm not sure either. But 5 to 10 is sort of where I'm going to tentatively put him. But I'm curious to see whether that wrist plays a factor in all this for this season and what he does do with those plates because they are clearly irritating him and probably impacted his results there at the end of Supercross. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. Cody Schock, Club MX, he's decided to step off the 250 up to the 450. Now, Cody Schock has a history with the 450 class previously as a privateer and has done really well, to say the least. Some regular support, obviously the facilities and training options available there at the Club MX. I see him being definitely somewhere around that 5 to 10 mark on that Club MX Yamaha.
Yeah, and he's done well. He did well through that Supercross season. So same thing, and he raced Daytona, I think, in the 450 class on the 250.
Yep.
So he's not scared of these guys, and the club team are improving more and more and getting up there. So I don't think he'll have any problem of finishing in any of those spots. Yeah, no,
definitely. I see him if he stays fit, I see him having some sneaky good results towards the end of the season. And last two on the list here, Justin Barsha, Malcolm Stewart. Barsha is going to be coming off a knee injury, unfortunately. And Malcolm Stewart coming off, last year being his first time back in the outdoors for a long time, but having some momentum towards the end of Supercross season. Do we see these guys doing anything out of the ordinary, or do we see them in that 5 to 10 range too? We suspect that's where I put them again, like Hampshire, Schock, Barsha, Mookie. I'm putting them in that 5 to 10 range. They're probably going to fit there regularly, easily, but not much more.
I could see Mookie sitting on the water in his new FXR fishing gear. That's probably where he'd rather be. But I think there's so many people that could fit into that 5 to 10 range, that there's going to be, there's going to be some names, to at least 15th, 16th, and they're going to turn around and go, what just happened?
Well,
We're better than this, but, it's just that stacked that this is, that's what's going to happen.
yeah, look, there's other names we haven't mentioned here that are going to be running some rounds, all rounds, Savachi, Bloss, Noren, just to name a couple there, but there's a few more that are on that list that could be in that range as well. But yeah, like we keep saying here, we've said it a few times now, the fitness across the season, being healthy across the season could really impact some of these guys' overall results in motos and across the championship season. So there's plenty to play out here, but obviously plenty to watch as well. So yeah, it should be good. Now let's just do this here while we've got 450s on the mind. Your parlor pick for the 450 class. Give it to me.
Jet.
Yep. Super easy.
Yeah.
I'm going Jet too. I can't, even though he's coming off injury, I just can't not pick him at parlor.
Yeah, it's the easiest pick. Some people might think we're crazy, but yeah, you're undefeated. You're coming back. You've been, off the bike. You want to prove everyone wrong again. Jet.
Yeah, exactly. All right, cool. Championship pick 450 wise. Anything that you want to say here, or are you just going to say what I think you're going to say?
Jet.
I thought you were going to say that. I'm going to say it too. I don't know why. As much as Chase is down as the defending champion, and we said at the start of this 450 section, he's got should have all those things, the confidence, the bike setup, the fitness, the momentum. I just don't see in the field with this many names, him being the guy that comes out on top. I don't know why. I just don't see it. He's never done it in a, run down fight sort of things. I feel like Jet's going to do it. I just do.
Yeah, I don't see Jet going 22-0 again.
No, I don't see that. No.
No, but I think it's going to be a consistency based, result, and you've got to be there every weekend. We all know, Chase sometimes likes to throw things away at certain points when he really needs to not do that. And Jet can usually stay composed. I see it probably being those two and Hunter. But yeah, if it comes down to it, I think Jet's got it in the bag. Yeah,
no, agreed. All right, let's switch gears. 250 time. Let's try and knock these guys out because I think we're going to be pretty similar here to say that the defending champ Hayden Deegan is pretty likely, barring injury or major bike malfunctions, which usually don't happen for that Star Racing Yamaha team that he's rocking around on. But I feel like he is the man to beat in this series and pretty much going to hold up it'll be a second number one plate at the end of this season.
Yep, second one. And yeah, I'm with you. I think I just don't think anyone, we saw it in Supercross that, if it comes down to it, no one wants to sort of put the elbows out when needed. And yeah, I just can't see anyone beating him.
Now let's lump a few of these guys together here because behind him, we've got decent riders. I just don't see them regularly beating Deegan outdoors, and that's the likes of Vial, Kitchen, Hammaker, Shimoda, Hymus, Masterpool, Volan. They're the ones that I think have got potential to, and like Kitchen, Vial, Hammaker, Shimoda, Hymus, and even Masterpool. They're race winners last year, like Moto winners, but I don't see them doing enough regularly to beat Deegan.
I think Hammaker is going to surprise a few people. I just think that whole, he's just finished, a really good Supercross season. Probably should have had the title, but things didn't go his way. But I just think the new training program he's on and the people that he's got around him, I think he's, he might not win, a race, but I think he'll be consistent, and I think he might surprise a few people.
I think he'll do all right, but you got to remember too, how much motocross has he missed in these first few seasons of his from different injuries and illnesses? I don't know if he's going to be that good yet. He might be. He's probably going to shock me here, but I don't think he's going to be good enough yet.
Yeah, who knows? You might be right, and he might also shock us. But I think one of those it's one of those names to be consistently there compared to some of the others that you noted off. But yeah, it's just we need to get some elbows out.
Yeah, and I don't see that coming from a Vial. It's maybe a Kitchen. Shimoda's been a bit antsy with Deegan in the last few Supercrosses. Maybe it's Shimoda.
Yeah, maybe. I would have loved to have seen what Cole Davies could do.
Oh,
I
don't we
don't think
all?
from what we've heard, he's not. He's a lot better at Supercross than outdoors. But yeah, I think everyone would have loved to have seen what he had up his sleeve.
Yeah, well, look, hopefully we still get some sort of chance with him, maybe the last sort of 3 or 4 rounds, but that's a question mark at this stage. But yeah, that would have been awesome to see anything from him outdoors. But yeah, look, outside of those names we mentioned there, the only other ones that maybe could do something, a random podium here or there, Thrasher, Mosman, Marchbanks. Do you see anything from those guys really coming up regularly, or just, like I said, the occasional random podium position for him in a moto?
Probably Marchbanks, probably top of that. The top of those three. Just I think he did 450 last year. So I'm not sure how he'll go on the 250, but I think he could be up there. Mosman, I mean, who knows? He disappeared for 3 years with injuries and whatnot, and then came back and had a few good races this year in the Supercross. But yeah, I'm not too sure. And yeah, Thrasher's just it's like a box of chocolates. You just don't know what you're going to get.
All right, Forrest. All right, well, moving on then. Let's go parlor pick for the 250s. Who you got?
I'll go Deegan.
Yeah, I've gone Deegan as well, but remembering last year that he didn't have it all his own way there, and that Vial was reasonably good there. So I think it could be a battle, but I do still think Hayden is your overall winner at the end of the day.
Yeah, and Volan wasn't too bad there a few years ago as well. So I know things are a bit different to back then, but you never know. He could surprise us as well.
Well, this would be the first time he's had a chance to do outdoors again pretty much since that season, I would think. I don't think he's done anything really much else after that year because he's been injured so much with his hips and that. So yeah, look, obviously different bike, different brake arrangements. It gets widely talked about on the coverage because it seems to be so popular. It's amazing that he has a handbrake. But anyway, moving on. But yeah, he could be a good one there, being a bit more of a local Californian. I know he's Northern California, but yeah, he's obviously familiar with those circumstances. So yeah, he could be a good pick there. He might be a sort of sneaky podium or something at Parlour as well. So yeah, all right, championship wise. Go on.
Well, hang on. Before we finish that section, what do we think of, because I think we might have left it off the list, what do we think about Julian Beaumer?
I did leave him off the list, but I don't see him outdoors doing all that much.
I don't even know.
Well, but I don't think he got many results last year in terms of outdoors, and I know his Supercross has jumped up a lot this year, but I feel like the best we're going to see out of him might be a third in a moto, but I think he's going to get a lot of fifths and sixths.
Yeah, well, he finished 11th in the championship last year. So, yeah. Yeah,
case in point. I think he'll improve on last year, but I don't think he's going to be all of a sudden, Deegan's, biggest rival or anything like that. So, yeah, he's got a bit of work to get past the Viala Kitchen and a Hammaker Shimoda in terms of outdoor speed. So, yeah. All good. All right, championship pick. Is it Hayden?
Yeah, I think we have to go with Hayden.
Yeah, me too.
I need to see a lot more from someone else before I change my thoughts.
Yeah, no, 100% agreed. And the fact that they've got to all make it through, 11 rounds, 22 motos, and be close enough to challenge him. I just don't see many being able to do that. But there is obviously, as we say, the chance that Hayden himself has an injury that slows him up, prevents him from racing around or something. So he's had a few big crashes himself. He's always seemed to bounce back up last year. days can eventually catch up and bite you. So, yeah, you have to see how that works out. But I expect him to be the winner at the end of this. So we'll see how we've gone exactly the same for Parlour pick and for championship pick. We'll have to see if we're both idiots at the end of this, all right?
Yep, all right.
Done. All right, now, before we end this little section, fantasy leagues. We normally talk fantasy leagues for Supercross and stuff, but just a reminder that we're doing them, well, essentially they're just running on for the outdoor side of things. Benny, you look after the Rocky Mountain side of it mostly. It's going again, isn't it?
Yep, it's going again. If you're already in the group, and I mentioned this in our group chat, so if you're hearing this twice, I'm sorry. But it has rolled over. So now the site is obviously for outdoors, and then once it finishes, it will then roll over to SMX. So again, we'll probably note on that when the time comes, but you don't really have to do anything if you're already in there. You just do your picks and try and win.
Yep, definitely. And then so we also have our fast moto comp, and we have the bootleg comp that our man Lachlan runs from within the group chat. So if you want to be a part of any of these leagues, you need to send us a DM on Instagram. We can join you into the group chat, and then we can get you access to those passwords and set up on our bootleg one, because we need an email and stuff, and we let Lachlan get that details and get you set up. So if you want to join, come and send me a DM, and we'll get you in the group chat on Instagram, and we can go from there. All right, Benny, I think that's it for this preview for the outdoors. Thanks for coming back on and joining us. Sorry for the gap in between, and hopefully we see you back on here again shortly.
No, that's fine. I've enjoyed being back, and hopefully we can do a few more.
Sounds good. All right, we'll take a break on the Always Moto podcast.
Hey guys, this is Grant Harlan, and this is the Always Moto podcast.
Right, our man from Finance My Bike is back on the line with us yet again this week. Anthony, how are we, mate? How's the week been treating you?
Hey, good, Dave. Good, Dave. How are you, mate?
I'm good. How's life in the caravan that's rolling around the country?
Mate, it's been a very cold week.
You are down south in the depths of Victoria at the moment, aren't you? So, yeah, I'm not surprised it's a little bit cold down there.
Yeah, mate. I've seen it as low as -4 this week. I wasn't out in it. I was driving, which was good, but I got up early and left, and, the temp on the van got down to -4, it said, so...
Yeah, that's not where you want the temperature gauge
fresh
to be.
No. No, it wasn't a lot of fun when I got out, no.
No, definitely not. Now, look, last time we spoke, which was about 2 weeks ago now on the podcast, we were looking ahead to New South Wales Off-Roads at Maitland. Things were looking good for a nice round 3 and 4 there for the championship. Local for me, you'd come back from your Victorian junkets, but you're back down there again, but you come up for this one. Unfortunately, things didn't pan out so well for the event. Generally, the weather basically ruined the weekend for us, mate.
It just smashed it. I got there on the Thursday, I'm pretty sure, and the place looked great. We did a track walk on Friday, and it looked great. Saturday morning, it was going to be okay, and then Saturday lunchtime, the heavens opened up and just turned it to slop.
Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't what we'd planned when we'd set out the place. We knew that the track had a few low spots, but when that much rain started coming down at lunchtime, the whole track turned into a low spot pretty much, and it just wasn't good for anybody really.
No, mate, I don't normally like walking the tracks too much. I'm too old for that. But I had Steve with me, and he always makes me do it. So we did a lap, and you did a great job. The layout, the corners, they were nice and wide. There was plenty of passing opportunities because it was going to be our cross country. So when the fast guys overtook me, it wasn't going to be that hard.
Mm-hmm.
It was going to be really, really good, and it was just. Yeah, it's just really bad luck for the club, I guess, yeah.
Yeah, it just didn't work out in terms of the weather. But look, we still got some racing. We did manage to get in. The juniors got their event without too much issue. Bit of rain, but not too much. But then the clubmen, women's, and the legends were all going, and that's when the weather started really coming down. And then there was a nice pause. The pro race and the veterans were meant to go off I think it was 1 o'clock you were meant to go. But by the time the rainstorm went through, it was more like 2 something that it finally kicked off, and then rained, reasonably well for this first bit of it. And then, just there was still a 2-hour race that went on, but it was not really a race from my spectator vantage point that I was watching. Everyone was just survival mode, if not blowing up bikes. So there was plenty of bikes that left there in less than working order than when they came in with them. So that wasn't good on that side of things either.
Definitely a few casualties, mate. As you said, the junior race was pretty good. One of our supported riders, Jess, she actually got second in her class, which was really cool.
Nice.
And then as you said, the ladies and the vets went out and they copped it while they were out there. There was rumours that it was actually starting to come pretty good because there was that much rain. There was just a lot of water, not actual mud. But then that changed again. And I actually went out for the vets and pro race, and I did maybe a quarter of a lap, and I thought, nah, bugger this, I'm out.
the cleaning efforts after this aren't worth it, he said. I'm out.
well, I shouldn't have even gone a quarter of a lap. It's like I may as well have done the 2 hours because it was just as dirty.
Yeah, usually is.
But mate, I actually had a few bike issues as well. I think I need a new battery for I actually didn't ride the Stark that weekend. I'm starting to try and get used to clutch and gears again.
Retrain yourself.
Retrain myself for Think and Hatter. So, I rode the KTM, but it had a battery issue as well. So I didn't really want to get halfway around and stall it and have to push the thing back. So.
No, that would not be ideal.
Not in those conditions. No. They're already heavy enough, let alone with another 30 kilos of mud on them.
Yeah. Now, look, unfortunately, they managed to get that day done, but then weather and whatnot a little bit overnight, and then just the track conditions. The Sunday, it was decided that it wasn't safe to proceed. Basically, from an access point of view, we couldn't get, if we needed medical out different parts of the circuit, it wasn't going to happen. And obviously overnight it gets pretty dark pretty early. So by the time we'd finished that 2-hour race on the cross country, there was not much time to be rechanging the track and, of moving things around. So it just wasn't possible for Sunday, unfortunately. So bit of a missed thing there. If we had had a bit of a different circumstance with weather, we could have had an awesome event, but that's what happens in moto. It's an outdoor sport. So sometimes it doesn't go to plan. But anyway, we'll catch that on the next one.
I think it might be me and Maitland. That's probably the third time I've been there when it's supposed to be really nice and then the heavens open up. And like I've seen swags floating down the roads there, like that have come out of tents. Like it's, I don't know what it is about that little pocket, but it's not the first time it's happened to me there. That's for sure.
Look, it's at the moment, it's still raining here. Like it's a hunter thing. April, May, it's just weather season for us. So I think just putting an event in that period, you're just asking for troubles. And at the moment, like I was saying here before we hit record, I'm actually flooded in here at the moment. I'm near the ranch motocross track. Some pretty heavy rain around here at the moment. We're all just basically flooded in. So I'm sitting here, I can hear the rain outside even through the headphones. So it's been coming down pretty good. So it's just a thing in the hunter. They would be best advised to do it in any other month other than April and May. So maybe we can put that out to them next year when they decide to do calendars, and we'll just avoid that period of time. But anyway, it is what it is.
But a big thanks, I suppose, a big thanks definitely does go out to the club. They actually put their hand up at shorter notice than normal. It was supposed to be a Nabiac round. And, you guys put your hand up to cover that round. So, I mean, you weren't supposed to have it. So
yeah, we got the short end of the stick on both sides of things. A short turnaround to prepare it, and then we got the weather. So anyway, look, it was good that we got it, and well raised that you brought that part up too. That the club did do a good job to jump in there at short notice and make something happen. Just unfortunate it didn't work out for anybody really. So look, it's part of it. We'll move on. We do have the next round of that series for the New South Wales Off Road. It's going to be at Hastings I think it's in just over a month now. So hopefully with better weather for that, hopefully everything dries out by that point, because otherwise it could be a bit wet too.
I think they're having just as much rain up there as well.
They are.
From all reports. So
they had a club weekend, I think 2 weekends ago, and it wasn't very pretty from a mud aspect either. So look, hopefully they've got time to dry out between now and then.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Now, your other efforts on the bikes, mate, you drove back yourself from Maitland back down to Victoria. It's like you're becoming Victoria's a second home for you lately. You're back down there last weekend and you did the Mafra Mayhem.
Yeah, mate, left Maitland and went and cleaned up, and we actually watched the last round of the Supercross, which was kind of cool. I got to watch that in a lounge that afternoon because we did finish early, which was unusual. And then, yeah, mate, slipped straight back down to southern Victoria into Mafra. It's actually a round. It was the second or first round. I don't actually know of the Victorian Hard Enduro series. I actually don't have too much to do with that series. But yeah, Ross had this event called the Mafra Mayhem. I think it's the second time it's been run. And, mate, it was awesome. It was really good, really good.
Do they get much of a roll-up? Like, I didn't realise that I know that there's the Australian Hard Enduro Championship we've been talking about a little bit now on the show, but I didn't know that we had a state-based series as well that's going on. Hopefully it's getting well patroned.
I know they're trying to get it off the ground. I think it's been going for a little while now. But yeah, I think there was like 200 riders there, or 200
that's good.
Something riders there.
That's handy.
I think I could be wrong. As I said, I'm not involved in that event. I just turned up to ride that one. I wasn't a sponsor or anything like that. But yeah, no, there was definitely a fair turnout. Yeah.
And so, what sort of format did they manage to put together for that? Is it similar to the Australian series, or do they do something completely different?
Well, similar. They in the Australian series, on the Saturday they do prologues. And with the prologue, it's normally a 45-minute race. And in that, you basically do as many laps as quick as you can, and that designates your starting order. This was still 45 minutes, but it was your fastest single lap in that 45 minutes.
Yeah, nice.
So you could have gone out and done one really good hot lap first, and then come back in, and you still could have peaked at the top. So that was a little bit different.
Yeah.
The juniors still raced their race on the Saturday. That's per normal.
Yep.
And then the gold prologue was actually a bit different as well. They didn't actually have a 45-minute race. They actually just went off in pairs, and it was like a round robin knockout competition. I didn't actually know how that was going to go. I thought that was not the right idea, but they were right as we watched it and watched them go and filter down, end up. The winners and the losers sort of filtered out, and they ended up getting the top guy. It was actually really good racing, really good to watch.
So you could see a bit of it then, I gather, from the pits and the way that they were set up there then.
It was that event was built for spectators.
Nice.
They had maybe a 250 or 300 meter long spectator area, well away from the track, but you could look down over the man-made prologue area, and there was rock gardens, there was tires, there was concrete pipes, drop offs. There was everything. It was actually really cool. A couple of jumps. A big long creek section that probably went for 300 or 400 meters,
nice.
And then a couple of really big steep uphill and downhill. So the gold prologue was actually a spectacle. It was actually really well done. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. So comparatively to the opening Australian round you did down at Kosciuszko there, how was the track comparative to this? Like, is this harder, this easier? Which one's giving you the more nightmares since you've left?
I was probably a little bit more sore after this one, actually.
Okay.
I don't know why. The track itself probably wasn't that difficult, but there was a couple of really difficult obstacles. And it was a bit greasy, this one, so it was completely opposite to Kosciuszko. Kosciuszko, there wasn't a drop of rain.
Yeah.
But this one, there was a bit of moisture. Beautiful green paddocks. And the mountains were covered in green grass, and then there was a bit of a creek running through it, and so we actually rode through the creek for a little bit. But that's some massive big logs on some uphills that caught a lot of people out, including yours truly. I wouldn't say it was overly difficult, but it was definitely taxing. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was
Okay.
definitely a taxing one. Yeah, and you've got to remember that's bronze. That's bronze. Like I don't want to do silver or gold, but that was the bronze track.
We're just scaling the expectations back here a little bit. Yeah, bronze level riding
Absolutely. Yeah.
here. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
nice.
It was definitely technical and definitely, but yeah, I've got no interest on going up and doing anything harder. That's for sure.
Do you get much chance? And this is probably because you're going at the same time, aren't you? But you don't get any chance to really watch other than like that prologue. I gather you're saying from the Saturday side, but you don't get to see any of the gold guys attack any of this stuff because you're probably riding at the same time, aren't you?
Very rarely, but you do get glimpses. It all depends. I mean, it depends on how serious you take the race itself. You can pull up at some sections and you can watch the gold and silver guys do their thing. There are track merges where we're actually all on the same track,
Mm-hmm.
and then they might duck off and you can still see them. But even when they're overtaking you, sometimes on the bronze track in a slightly tricky section, just watching them jump over that log or through that rock section or out of the creek or into the creek, it's just like, oh, I didn't know we could do that.
Yeah. Different level of attack point, isn't it? Like they just see things and move the bike differently. But yeah, that's what I was sort of getting at. It's nice to be able to see them in action as well as you're going around because it can help you, but two, you can just sort of have that wow moment too. So
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
oh, nice. Well, all right. So where's next on the list? I think I know where you're heading, but what's this weekend's agenda for you, mate?
Mate, so we're out currently in Mildura for, I think it's the third weekend of the Vic Series, so it'll be round
I think it's
5 and 6, I
5-6 if I
guess.
looked at it correctly, if I
Yeah,
read the right thing. But
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so we're out at Mildura. It's actually going to be next. The rumor is it's next to the Hadar track, so it's going to be very similar to a Hadar track. I hope because I'll be
Mm-hmm.
doing that later in the year. So yeah, I've gone a bit. Yeah, Hadar's about 3/4 of an hour to an hour south of Mildura,
Yep.
so I've got to head back down there in the next couple of days. But yeah, they're calling it the Mallee Stumping Off Road. So.
Yeah, I can't remember because I've done Hatta a few times now and I've ridden on a couple of the properties nearby Hatta and they run other events on them. And I think you're going to be on, I can't remember the name of it, but I think I know the one that you're going to be on for that event. And it's basically exactly the same. Obviously, just laid out differently because it's different property, but the terrain, the speeds, the way you get some open sections and then into some tighter sections, yeah, it's exactly the same as Hatta. So you're getting some really good prep.
Yeah. Well, the guys have put a bit of a track map on their Facebook page story or Insta story, so I'm not sure whether it'll still be on there by the time the guys and girls are listening to this. But yeah, it does look like there is some faster sections, which we'll just have to see how we go with those.
Are we on the Stark or are we pulling the KTM out for this weekend?
No, we'll be getting a new battery for the KTM tomorrow, and we'll be starting to learn how to ride sand or this red dirt. So we've got the later half of the Vic series. I think they do a lot of sand. So we've got we were in Dartmoor the other day, which was sand. This one will be sand, and then Casterton will be sand as well.
Yep.
And then obviously with the year coming up into Fink and Hatta, there's a lot of red dirt. There's a lot of red sand. So
Yeah.
I'll be staying on the KTM to try and get some ride time and get to it and just remember how to actually ride a proper bike again.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let's talk a second here about bike setup. What have you got on the bike? Have we got a sand tire? Are they allowing that? I think I saw they are for this round, or is maybe one of the other ones
going to, but I think they were going to, but I think they had to pull the pin on that last minute.
Okay.
Yeah. I've never really run them. I ran them out at out at Mendurin.
Yep.
In New South Wales once. I don't know. I actually didn't like it, to be honest, but I'm probably the weird one there.
It's an acquired taste, but once you get the taste, you know why you use them. But have you all right? So if we got regular tires, that's fine. But have you got a steering damper on that bike?
Yeah, so we've got a Scott steering damper that goes under the bars.
Okay, good. Are we cranking it up a level? Because that's usually the go.
Well, I'll be getting Stel from On Point to give me a bit of a hand this weekend. So the bike actually went and saw him a couple of weeks ago, and he's put a new front end. He's put some white power stuff in there for me.
Okay.
I don't actually know what it was or what it is. He just said, "This is how much you need to spend." I'm like, "Okay, no worries, do it."
You're one of those customers. Yep. Yeah. Just tell me what I need. I'll pay for it. Great. Thank you.
Well, he's done a bit of work for me last year, and he's well known, and he runs that Empire Motorsports team, I should say.
Yeah, sure.
That we talked about the other week with Will.
Yep.
He's a pretty well known. I think he's a pretty trustworthy guy. So, and he got me a good deal on a complete set of forks. So yeah, I'll probably just be annoying him all weekend and getting him to help me set it up, mate. Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. But look, the one tip that I always took away was just lean back, pull the throttle on, but also tighten up the steering dampener because it will help hold you in a straight line. So see how you go.
yeah. And I think from memory last week, I had the steering, the triple clamps done up a bit tighter as well, just to hold that, just to stop a bit more of that head shake and that as well. So
any stability you can get out of it at the front is well worth having. So yeah, see where you can get to. No, cool. All right. So you've got a bit of a run here. You've got this Mildura around. I gather then we've got a week off to get yourself to Fink?
No, next weekend after that will be the AEC round.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
South Australia.
Yep.
Which is good because it's on the way. It's basically on the way from here to sort of over near towards Adelaide before you head up north. So, so that'll be another. I'm assuming it'll be another sort of desert, sort of a sandy race. I haven't been there. One.
Yeah, it should be, or at least some sort of loam soil. So yeah, you should be in for at least similar terrain practicing, and then up to Fink.
Yeah, that's right. So I'm going to be a sand specialist.
Well, look, we're gonna have to test you out at some point later in the year to see how these skills if they've sunk in or not.
Yeah, we might give that a miss.
We'll drag you out in the Stockton at some point and see what you can do. But yeah,
the dunes or something else again.
Yeah, exactly. No, all good. Well, look, you've got plenty on your plate. Thanks for joining us again on the AlwaysMoto podcast, and hopefully that Finance My Bike caravan keeps making it all around the country for you week in, week out, mate.
Mate, it's still going. Now, I just wanted to bring up.
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask a couple of questions.
Oh, here we go. Go on.
How did you end up getting on with your Supercross tipping?
Oh, look, I'm going to plead the fifth here. I did terribly, not so good. I did end up missing a few rounds, actually. I didn't want to tip in this year's comp. I wanted to have the comp and set up and run, but I didn't feel I had the time, and I proved myself true at the end of the season there. I missed about 5 rounds, I think it was, for the tipping point. I just didn't have signal where I was, or I just completely forgot what I was doing, and yeah, because I was doing too many kids' sports activities on Saturday mornings. So, yeah.
So is that an excuse, or is that actually what happened?
Plenty of excuse, but actually happened as well. So,
mate, that was great. Are we doing one for the motocross?
Yes, we have some going for the motocross. Basically the same system. So we have the Fast Moto series is kicking in again. So it'll be set up and running. I don't think it's up just yet with all the entries yet, but I think from pretty much Thursday this week. So depending on when you're hearing this, obviously that'll pay attention as to when that is. But Thursday before the race should be up. We still have our in-house bootleg comp, we call it, that our man Lachlan organises for us and puts together via a couple of Google Sheets, and it's based on the Pulp MX fantasy game because we're now no longer able to play that, being internationals. So we have those two options as well. I don't think the Rocky Mountain one does anything for motocross. I'd have to check with our contractor man, if he's got that set up, and we'll do that at another point in this show. So this might actually be out of order, but he's coming on this show as well. So we'll ask him when he gets in there. So yeah.
Excellent. That'll be good. No, it's good fun. I actually invited you invited me to get on there, and then I invited my mate Steve to get on there, and Steve and I had a bit of banter through the year because of that. So that was great.
That's what
I think
it's
I ended
all
up beating
about.
him as well. So yeah, and it'll be good to see Jet and Hunter back on the bike this weekend as well. So
it's a very much interesting weekend from that side of things. We'll talk about that more in the emergency department with Jet's knee particularly. But yeah, interesting to watch how that goes and how the fitness for the two of them plays out. But not just them. There's like God, there's got to be at least a dozen riders coming back from injury for this round. So everyone's fitness and, how everything's going testing-wise is interesting to play out here because, like, Jet didn't have much time on that new Honda in the last year. Prado's coming back from a shoulder dislocation. He doesn't have any time on a Kawasaki in America before he's riding this round. So interesting times. But Jet, I don't know if you
Eli's
realise.
back after his broken leg as well.
Yeah, that one. But like Jet is technically undefeated at Parla. So is he going to be game face on trying to hold on to that, or is he just going to get some points? We'll see.
Yeah, I've got to stay off the phone all day because it's on at 5:30 in the morning, and I won't be able to watch it till in the afternoon because of the racing. So,
isn't that a pain in the butt when you've got things on those days? It happens to me quite often lately with the Sunday events and stuff that we've been trying to go to, and yeah, you can't open your phone because you'll just find out. It's terrible.
It's a long day.
Yeah, especially by the time you finish the motos at night time.
Yeah, absolutely. A very long day. So, but no, I can't wait for the next couple of weeks. Yeah,
definitely big things happening for you with all those events. So yeah, good luck with all of them. But we'll catch up with you throughout, no doubt, and make sure that the van continues to roll.
Right, mate. Thanks for the chat.
Thanks, Anthony.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Scott Meshy, number 411, and you're listening to the Always Moto podcast.
All right, guys and girls, let's get into the emergency department on this week's episode of the podcast. The emergency department. All the injuries, all the gory details, and when they'll be back on track. It's the list you really don't want to be on. You don't want to be on this list, and luckily, a lot of riders are coming off this list at the moment. As with the start of Pro Motocross, it's always coincided with a point where everyone who got injured and was out for the season in Supercross, not everyone, but a lot of them, this is the point that they work towards to get themselves back on the bike for a start to a full season again. And obviously with the advent of Super Motocross playoffs, they need to get points in that. So they've got to get themselves back, and Motocross is the perfect time to be doing that because they got 2 moto formats, so they get points for each moto towards their total for Super Motocross. So it's a good chance to build that quickly and get into that top 20 so that they're seeded straight in, no LCQs, etc. So plenty of people returning. Now, this section of the show is always brought to you by Technic Motorsport. And Technic Motorsport, they have a name that they hold on to as a brand, but it's Cruise Tune, and it's become a name in MX and off-road performance suspension parts. They have lowering kits, valving kits, bladder conversions, lift kits for 65cc races, and a range of adventure and road bike lowering kits. Now, they're based in Melbourne, Australia, but Cruise Tune, they have a full CNC manufacturing facility. And this full range of Cruise Tune's parts are available via technicmotorsport.com. Parts are in stock and are available for same-day dispatch. They can overnight them to almost anywhere in Australia, and they have competitive dealer pricing for these Cruise Tune parts. So don't wait for those Cruise Tune parts. Get them fast from technicmotorsport.com. Now, let's get into this list here. Things to note, and most of this is returns, right? So on the 450 side of things, Jorge Prado is going to be back for motocross following his shoulder surgery from a dislocated shoulder in Supercross. Jet Lawrence is going to be back in an amazing amount of time from an ACL repair. He is less than 3 months off the bike. He's been riding for over a month now. He'll be racing before 4 months is ticked over for this injury recovery timeframe. I don't see it being an issue. He's proven he can return from injury quickly in the past with that thumb. The only concern I have is his overall moto fitness, and if he dabs his foot once and it blows, because it won't necessarily blow because it's weak. It'll blow because it hasn't solidified the anchoring points in the bones. That's my concern. But given that he is more than 12 weeks, 6 weeks is bone healing, 12 weeks it will have remodeled once, so it should be pretty damn strong. It's purely down to his strength, and I actually don't have any concerns over his strength, coordination, control of that, because he will have done the work. I feel like he's somebody who's doing the work, and I don't think that's going to be a concern. So actually, let me revise that. I don't have any concerns about him being back on the bike in this time frame. The only thing I have question is, how good is his fitness late in Moto 2? That's my only concern. I picked him for a win. You'll hear it throughout the show. I pick him to win Parla. I don't know why I just did, but I did. Anyway, Jet Lawrence is back from that ACL. Eli Tomac's going to be back from that fibular fracture that he had. Hunter Lawrence is going to be back from that shoulder injury that he had as well in Supercross. So lots of names there returning. In the 250 class, Levi Kitchen's going to return from that punctured lung, rib, collarbone fracture from Daytona. Ty Masterpool's back after that finger fracture for him. He's won and only Supercross this year. Jordan Smith missed out on that Salt Lake round from that crash with Cole Davies. He's going to be back for motocross after that hematoma should have gone down by now. He'll probably still be a bit sore, but he'll be back. Ryder DeFrancesco is going to be back. He's been back on the bike. He did the Stopwatch National at Glen Helen this past weekend after all of his major injuries from what we believe was a bike malfunction midweek early in Supercross. So he's back, good to go. So good to see. Now, there'll be others as well. I haven't got all the names here. It's early in the week. I haven't confirmed everybody just yet, but that's what we know at this stage. On the other side of things, the riders that are out for Parla, Max Anstey's swinging between these ones here, and I've got to wait for a confirmation from Max, but we believe he's going to be out. That fracture that he's had, fibular fracture, which is a clean-cut fracture, and he should have had plenty of time, might not have healed as well as everybody hoped, and that is the risk that everybody runs when they have an injury, is that as much as there's a recovery time frame, it's an average recovery time frame. People can be quicker, but people can also be slower than the average, and maybe that's what's happening here for Max. We'll find out more later on. Cole Davies, obviously definitely out. That broken humerus, he's been surgically repaired. He is going to be out for about 12 weeks, so that will put him back late in the outdoors, if at all, before he heads to Super Motocross, which he would more than likely be back for, but we'll have to keep an eye on that recovery plan as it plays out. Dylan Ferrandis has announced that he's out for motocross. He's reported that he's been dealing with a stress fracture throughout Supercross, which reappeared late in the season, and he's able to ride through it, but he's pulling out of outdoors now. I find this completely interesting because stress fractures, particularly in the leg, are not common in motocross. This is unheard of for motocross. But what is a stress fracture? And why could he ride through it through Supercross, but all of a sudden not through outdoors? Well, a stress fracture is exactly that. It's the bone has fractured, but it's not like a traumatic fracture where you can see it and it's clear cut, broken, two pieces of bone. There is a line across the bone. There might even be horizontal fracturing along the length of it. Vertical fracturing along the horizontal fracture line, but not actually a separation of the pieces of bone. But what can happen is that is then basically a weak point in the bone, and any load can then turn that weak point into a complete fracture. So he ran the risk of racing those Supercrosses and potentially breaking that bone altogether if he had an accident. But he's now decided that the risk is not worth it in outdoors, probably because he's going to dab your feet more often in outdoors, longer motos, more motos, etc. So he's taking the chance for that to heal. Now, unlike a normal fracture, a stress fracture recovery time can be a lot different because you don't necessarily put it immobilized for the time that you need. You think, oh yeah, it's doing pretty good, I can start doing some loading again, and then that can then flare it back up. Sounds like might what have happened to Dylan throughout Supercross. So he's got to be really careful that he actually gets it gone, and then the processes that he does afterwards in his recovery and his rehab in terms of return to normal activity, he needs to pay attention to that so that he doesn't then trigger this process straight away. Now, if it's a lower leg, it's usually from running. Now, that's unusual, again, because not many guys run anymore in moto for training. Everyone's a cyclist these days. So I'm not sure how he got it. I'd love to find out more about it with him. And I'll try and do that when I get over to these rounds coming up here in the future. But I don't know if he'll be there, but I'll be checking in with the team to find out what's happening and see if I can get in contact with him about it, because it's just unusual to have a stress fracture in the leg in motocross. It's an unusual occurrence. All right, that is our updates as we head to Parla. Plenty more things. We're going to be getting these YouTube videos back out here shortly for these things, so check those out as well. But if you have any more information about any riders or not, reach out to us, and we'll have more updates on our social pages as the race gets closer. All right, we're going to take a quick break here on the AlwaysMoto podcast.
Hi, my name's Will Price. I ride the Australian Enduro Championship, and you're listening to the Always Moto podcast.
All right, guys and girls, let's find out how we're watching the racing this weekend that's occurring. Bit of around the globe at this point, but we're going to cover the MX Pro Racing from Parla and the Oz Pro from Terralgalon. So for Parla, viewing times, obviously watching this via the Super Motocross Video Pass for the internationals, your Peacock subscription if you're in the States, but for us internationals, that Super Motocross Video Pass is sensational. All right, race day live is going to kick off at 3 a.m. Sunday morning. That's East Coast Australian time. The main race program is going to start from 5:30 a.m. So it's going to be an early morning, long day situation here, because you're then going to go straight into your Oz Pro MX coverage, which will cover you from basically it's going to kick off around 8 a.m. They're going to be on track. Now, live streaming for that is via SBS Sport app and the Facebook page as well. So plenty of options to watch it, and you can pretty much watch that live stream for the Oz Pro all day through their whole coverage, all the way to about 4 o'clock when the racing will finish. So very big coverage there. Now, as part of the coverage here, all the bikes obviously racing out nice and hard, all standing on solid foot pegs. And if you need some new foot pegs, you should check out Pivot Pegs. They are super wide, they have a pivoting action, and they help you move around on the bike and reduce your wear of your boot soles throughout your ride. Check out Pivot Pegs with a Z.com to get yourself some pivot pegs. Now, weather for the different race locations. Obviously, Parla in sunny Southern California, it's going to be as expected, sunny, between 14 and 27 degrees Celsius. So it's going to be a beautiful day in Parla. Should be a bit warm there throughout the middle of the day, but will be very nice conditions for spectators and pretty all right for riders as well there. So that should be good. Now, for Terralgalon, weather's going to be a little bit different. There is a chance of scattered showers. The temperature is going to be between 6 and 17 degrees, so it could be rather cold down there in Victoria. Could also be wet as well, so it could be an interesting one to watch there on TV. If you're heading out to the track there, maybe take a jacket with you and maybe an umbrella, so to keep yourself dry and warm. All right, some other notable events coming up over the next few weeks here. This weekend, we talked about it with our man from Finance My Bike, Anthony Wakeham. We've got the Vic Off-Roads round in Mildura. That's this weekend, 24th, 25th of May. It's also the Ironman MX series at Lake Macquarie Motocross Club this weekend. So that's one to check out there if you're a motocross racer in New South Wales. The following weekend, it's the Australian Enduro Championship in Tintinara in South Australia. And then the following weekend after that, so the 6th to the 9th of June, is the Fink Desert Race. And like we said, it's the 50th running of that event. And a little public service announcement. I haven't forgotten, Paul. I haven't forgotten. You've sent me those images for some history on the original ISDE team. I will get to those in a social post. Flooding and the kids out of school slowed me down a bit this week. I said I was going to do it last week. I'm going to get to it. I promise. All right. That's it. That's our updates. That's the show. Awesome. Thanks for listening. Thanks for checking it out. As always, guys and girls, we appreciate your support here on the Always Moto podcast. But please, order a t-shirt. Send an email, info@alwaysmoto.com. Get a t-shirt from us. Follow us on social media. Subscribe to the podcast. Leave the podcast a rating on the Spotify app if you're listening on Spotify. Don't forget to check out the written articles on fullnoise.com.au. But that's it for another show. Lead Moto Australia, Technic Motorsport, Pivot Pegs, Competitive Edge Performance, and Tech 167 3D Printing for the show support. Thank you very much. Sorry about the voice. I'm losing it, it seems, as I'm going on through the night here, talking my way through the show. Apologies. Hopefully it's better next week. Thanks to the wife and kids for letting me get this done again, and we will see you at the track.